Hi there, I'm David.
And I'm Con, and we're back again today, David, to discuss something that's near and dear to your heart.
It is indeed. Look, I've just recently got the much talked about, much anticipated Duclos E-mount to FZ converter plate here.
So before we go any further, what lens have you got that on?
That is the, once again, much talked about the Fujinon, the MK series. This is the wide angle version.
The 18 to 55
That's
mil?
the one, yeah.
So why did you need an adapter to go on that lens?
Well, basically, this is a game changer because now I can get this lens onto the F5.
The F5 being an FZ mount?
FZ mount,
Yep.
which traditionally has meant, you know, all these adapters or PL or whatever. But the essence of this talk is about weight reduction and center of gravity and the camera person's basic comfort factor throughout the shoot.
Right, because a lot of people are using their Canons or Fujinon Cabrios, which are bigger, heavier lenses. Great lenses.
Beautiful lens.
But the weight is an issue when you're doing maybe a reality show with that thing on your shoulder all day.
Long haul, and this is about 2 kilograms lighter than one of those. And I know, you know, it doesn't have a servo, and there's other not many drawbacks, to be honest. And the price is a huge bonus.
It's quite an affordable lens too, isn't it?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So the other reason we haven't actually got the camera on the table in front of us, the F5, is because it's
on my camera.
It's camera 1,
Yeah.
I guess. So we're just going to work around that, but I don't think it's a problem that we haven't got the camera.
And we've got a photo of that lens here, which was taken by you, as people can see. So that's what it actually looks like.
It's pretty simple, yeah. It's just 4 screws. You take it off. I will eventually, I was a bit impetuous when it arrived. Quickly changed it over. I was so excited. I will probably get some sort of torque screwdriver and just work out what settings that I should do, just so that they're all evenly
tightened, not
up.
over tightened and stuff like that. Is there an actual lens element in the adapter, or is it just a clear?
No, it's just clear.
Just clear. So there's no speed boosting.
No.
There. So it's just basically converting the E mount to FZ mount.
That's it.
So what do we got here? You're actually showing us.
Okay, once again, this demonstration's about, you know, weights, center of gravity. So look, I did some tests on my bathroom scales, which I know aren't commercial, but they're pretty close. So this is just a this shot just demonstrates a 2.5 kilogram weight. It's fairly close. That's two barbell weights stacked on each other. So look, the scales are out just a little bit.
Yep.
But that's our reference, our calibration, if you like, for the rest of this presentation.
So you actually have the camera now on the scales coming in at 6.5 kilograms. What have you got on the camera at the moment?
Okay, so what I've got on at the moment is the handle.
Yep.
And once again, I've taken the Vocus base off because the F5 is actually on a jib. This would have come off anyhow, so that's handy for us. So it's a pretty standard setup, and that's a 100 watt hour V-lock battery on the back, camera mic, and the hand grip. And so that comes in at a nice 6.5 kilograms. So keeping in mind, if we had one of the bigger PL mount lenses, that would be another 2 kilograms on top of that.
So it'll be 8.5 kilograms. Every gram counts.
That's right. Okay, so center of gravity test. I would normally like to use the matte box rail. In this case, because of the shoulder mount, I needed something with a broader diameter. So I've used a can of insect repellent, which just happened to be the closest thing when I was taking the photos.
Yeah.
But what you can see in that shot is the center of gravity is sort of quite is just under the main menu knob.
Yep.
So that's quite interesting. And then once again, if you had 2 kilograms extra at the front of the camera, that photo would look completely different.
You wouldn't be able to balance it that easy because the can would have to sit underneath that rosette over there. Yeah,
that's right. So anyhow, so we'll move on to the next one. This is where it starts to get more interesting. That is with a 150 watt hour battery, so there's a few grams difference, but I just wanted to...
So the centre of gravity's now moved back a little bit.
And that's another thing I should point out, that
Yeah.
I've mounted the F5 body further back. Sorry, that's
as far back as will
as
go
will go
on the
that,
base
yeah.
plate. Yep.
And that's what the game changer. So okay, so here's another more realistic situation. This is with a 150 watt hour V-Lock battery and radio mics. I've got the Sony adapter for the receiver's not in here because we're using it, but this is a bit more realistic, real world situation.
In a reality show or doco style.
Pretty much, and the only thing that is missing there would be a time code, a locket, or there's other...
tentacle sinks or nano lockets, which are tiny and small and negligible for weight these days.
Exactly,
Yeah.
but what's interesting here is if you look at the centre of gravity, that can of spray, it's it's actually now it's under the headphone socket. So look, it's moved a couple of
So the centre of gravity is actually where it should be, on the centre of the shoulder pad, not at the front of the shoulder pad. So what does that equate to in reality?
Comfort, and being able to concentrate on the real job at hand, not concentrating on
the pain on your
pain on the shoulder
and your back.
and trying to keep the camera stabilized, so it's huge. I've done some tests in around the house and around the streets, but I haven't done a hardcore job on this yet, but that's coming. But once again, this is just another angle, but once again a realistic F5 situation where I leave my camera mic on. That's an old digital Betacam camera mic that I had converted. I tend to just leave that on because I know where it is. And the hand grip. Now another interesting thing is in that photo I actually have the hand grip pretty much where I would have it for the comfort of my...
Yeah, and it's more on the orientation. If you had a servo zoom like the Cabrio on it, our hands go into it like that. So you've got it almost, which is comfortable. And,
it is comfortable.
Yeah.
But once again, it just keeps getting more and more interesting. So one of the things that I've found, with using these Super 35 rigs is the going from handheld to the tripod to putting the camera back down on to the ground,
which we have to do sometimes.
And you might take the camera off the tripod to put it on the ground for safety, to adjust the light.
to adjust the tripod height. You don't want to do it with the camera on sometimes.
No. So once again, this is an interesting thing. The whole getting onto the set and forget issue here is I had the hand grip nice and comfortable there.
Yeah.
And then if you go into the next picture, that's the camera sitting at ground level. It's on the bench, but it's at ground level. So I've gone from the handheld to putting it on the ground.
Yeah.
And I didn't actually have to make any adjustments to this handle, which is interesting. One thing here is the camera is possibly just a bit back heavy for this setup. That tripod plate is actually, and wedge is actually set up for my XD cam. If I was going to run that plate with the F5, I'd probably just need to shuffle the wedge plate.
Yep. So you've still got a little bit of leeway on the tripod
balance.
slide plate. Yeah.
So so we've just shot something on the tripod. Now we have to go.
So you can put it down on the ground, back to the tripod, or that's another angle on the ground.
That's right, and it doesn't feel like it's about to fall over and damage the viewfinder. That I'm quite comfortable walking away from the camera there. So this is very interesting stuff.
Yeah, because I did a job the other day with my camera and I had the handle not up here, I had it down here, and I couldn't put the thing down.
No.
And I didn't have any of those shaped quick release buttons like I do now, because after that experience I go, I can't put the camera down, this is no good. But even still, I had the map box on mine thing, so I'm not really sure if
I haven't done a test with the map box in this scenario. I tend not to use the map box.
Yeah.
Unless I have to.
Yep.
But the map box is another video in itself because there's so many variations of it.
That's right.
So I've decided for this video we'll just stay away from the map box.
And it's extra weight.
It's extra weight, yeah.
Yep.
And another thing is some people may point out that I haven't got a follow focus. I do have one. I tend not to put it on once again.
Again, extra weight.
Extra weight, unless I need it. And there are times that they're fantastic, but in the general sort of run and gun environment, I'm happy to go without.
Well, that's good. So what do you got next here? You've got to put the camera away.
I've got to put the camera away. So keeping in mind, so I've just shot something on the tripod. I've just shot some handheld footage. I've had the camera on the ground while I've adjusted lights, talked to the director.
Yep.
Or whatever, and we're changing location, or I'm going home, and the camera once again with this handle, I don't have to make any adjustment to put it back into the road case. The only thing that I will have to change here is I will just have to change the foam setup in the, that's it, because it's the foam is cut for the matte box rails to sort of lock in, so that's a little job that I will have to do. But
so you'll basically just cut out a little bit just so that sort of extension arm can
just
fit
drop it in,
yeah. Because every time you have to adjust, and I think it's time wasted. And if you're in a run and gun situation where the director's calling, quick, you've got to shoot this, or something's happening right now.
There's a low tolerance for camera guys. Adjusting the rosette by one notch as the sun's going down, or someone's about to leave, or about to lose the talent, or about to go into overtime or something. So we can go, and once again, or this could be a location change, just push it in, and next location, pull it out, turn the camera on, and the only adjustments then will be, your filters or...
Because if you're in a hurry too, you might not tighten it up, or that extra turn, which might make it. Whoop,
that's right, and also, this has happened to me as well. I was trying to adjust this once while it was on my shoulder with the front heavy camera, and the thread isn't that deep on this, and this actually came off. I was okay. I grabbed it, but the less I have to worry about.
Exactly,
this
that's the whole point.
Yeah. So it's really interesting what this lens means to us. Now, this is a weird one. When I was doing the tests in the studio here. This is a selfie. This is just the camera on the 10-second timer. So I was able to set the shot up, press the button on the DSLR, run around, and balance it on my shoulder. And it's so neutral, I could actually take my hands off.
Well, that just proves how well balanced that camera with that lens, with that handle, actually is. That you can take your hands away from it.
Yeah, that's amazing. I was blown away. I don't think I've ever been able to do that on a shoulder-mounted camera. So one thing just to be careful, I wouldn't make a habit of doing that. The weight, and I guess it's probably because of the handle, does tend to just slightly go sideways.
Okay,
so you just got to watch that. Yeah. And if there was a variation of, or modification of this, maybe the strap that you get, say, on an E&G lens would be useful, so then it won't fall out, because there is a bit of exposure there.
Right, yeah.
If you're not concentrating, and the camera could go sideways.
Now, you've got the Vocus handle there, and I guess you can put anything that works for you, and I think some of these actually come with triggers as well.
They do. I now regret not getting that model. As we do this video, my F5 is 4 years old, and I remember at the time the price difference between this and the one with the VTR button was substantially more, and I thought, no, I don't need it. It's Super 35. We're operating in the film style. I wished I'd bought it, because I will now probably go and get
just so you can almost like an E&G servo lens, just hit record like
and that's important because, like a lot of us, we're going between XD cameras and XD cams, or the Panasonics or whatever, between so many different cameras, and that is a fairly sort of intuitive thing to do, is have the record button on that thumb.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of blending between the film world and the TV world. The distinguish. I mean, we're all using the same gear now, really. Whereas once upon a time, it was film cameras and video cameras, and never the two shall meet.
No.
But now we're all using the same, sort of Super 35mm cameras, whether it be for TV, live reality shows, or dramas.
Absolutely.
So a lot of the practices and work practices that we're used to as E&G cameramen, we can easily apply to drama or...
Yeah, for sure. But what I'm finding is, and we've mentioned this in other videos, is despite the technical revolution, the things don't change. So many things don't change, and that is
That's right.
people running late, light, people who have to get to the airport, people who have to come from the airport. All these things are still there, no matter what format
That's
you're
true.
shooting on.
That's true.
But what I really like about this new lens, because of its 2 kilogram weight reduction, it changes just a lot of the bread and butter items.
Yeah. So you're more keen now, being able to put that lens on your f5 now, to use that camera more in a run and gun sort of shoulder.
Absolutely, I'm much
situation.
more comfortable about it now, and doing longer handheld stints. And once again, I did some tests of just how long could I roll on, say, a handheld interview, and because it's so neutral, the answer is, well, quite a while. I'm not going to define the exact time, because some people might think, is he talking an hour?
Yeah.
I don't want to encourage that type of,
Yeah,
of work, but
there's no reason to be doing an interview handheld for an hour.
no, but sometimes with the front heavy scenario, if you're shooting someone who is shorter than me, then you're sort of holding it down, and then if you had someone who was 6'6", that would be great, because that would sort of push it back a bit. But but this thing is so neutral, and you can sort of trim, if you like, with your spare hand. If you did get caught in a long vox pop or handheld interview, you could pretty much just. We all have our techniques, but you could pretty much just the hand that you're not using, just sort of brace your elbow, and combined with the neutrality of this new setup, you could actually go for quite a while. Handheld.
I'm thinking of a perfect example, doing red carpet interviews at the Logies, which could go an hour or more, waiting there for each celebrity. You're on the
it's not
shoulder.
it's not just that period that you are there for the 1 hour or whatever the window is that the people come in. You actually have to get to those events quite early.
Yes, you do.
And the space that's allocated to each crew is quite small, and there actually isn't really the space to. If you put the camera down on the ground, that's an opportunity for the camera person to come in next to you. There's a few extra centimeters there, and he or she will think, oh, I've got that
window,
that angle there, and the celebrities haven't even started arriving yet. So. In actual fact, those red carpet events that might only go for an hour, you actually got the camera on your shoulder a lot longer before that, and with that, if it was me, I would be putting the bigger battery on, and you go and have a portable light of some sort. So every gram helps, but when you're talking kilograms, it's actually quite unbelievable.
So what's the lens actually worth? Weigh? It's just under a kilogram. Isn't it?
I believe it's about 900 grams, so it's just under a kilogram.
So compared to a Cabrio, it's a 1.5 kilo worth of weight that you're saving.
Or more, And once again, we're not talking those lenses down. I mean,
they're great lenses. They're sharp. They're beautiful, but they're heavy and they're expensive.
Yeah, and expensive to. Well, the damage. I mean, if this is 5,000 Aussie dollars to buy new, you could easily cause $5,000 damage to one of those high-end lenses.
Yeah, if something hits the front element of the lens,
damage the servo or something. And then, of course, the other thing, these are cheaper to insure. So,
so it ticks a lot of boxes.
It does. Yeah.
Now, the fact, what's this one open up to? This one opens up to 2.9.
Yes.
Is that a problem for you?
I think that's pretty good. I mean, we'd all like it to be faster, but it's not bad. It's better
not
than
a killer
deal breaker.
Deal breaker.
No, I'm pretty happy with that, because that once again is comparable to the bigger, more expensive lenses. I think they're about the same.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
What's a Cabrio? 2.3 or?
I think the Canon is 2.9.
Oh, there you go.
I think we could better just follow up on that one to make sure. I apologise if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And also on the longer version of this lens, you can zoom. It's constant.
It's parfocal. Yeah.
Yes, but you don't sort of have that light drop off at the end. Long end
yes,
of the
like
zoom.
some zooms actually after 90 mils will drop in exposure. Yeah.
So look, it's early days, but as I say, in the 4 years that I've had the F5, this is possibly the most interesting development in the F5 world, and I'm sure other people will agree.
So what's made it all possible, this Duclos adapter?
It is the I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Is it Duclos or Duclos?
I
Whatever.
pronounce it Duclos, but
I'm sure we'll get picked up on it.
Yeah.
Well, these guys.
We're Aussies. We're allowed to
That's right.
mispronounce
That's
names.
right. Look, these guys obviously saw the potential
Yep.
to change it, and they're obviously. I haven't been through their workshops, but I guess they've got the technical know-how and the.
Well, they've got a very good
equipment.
reputation and
Yeah.
name in the industry for
Yeah,
making lenses and iterations of lenses or
Yeah.
rehousings and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely, and also with the Fuji brand, it's important because there is lens snobbery, of course, and some people go, I want Zeiss, or I want. Well, it's like, sorry, I can't afford them, but I've got no problem telling my client, even if it doesn't go on the resolution chart, I'm happy. I'm that confident with the Fuji brand because actually some of those cameras, there's some very old Fuji products up the back there.
Yeah, in the background of my shop. Yep.
So I just comfortable knowing it's got the Fujinon brand on it. It's got 4K etched on it. If anyone says to me, what's the story with your lens? It's a Fuji and it's rated at 4K. I'm
And we're
fine with
shooting
that.
in HD.
And we're shooting in
so-
HD
yeah.
mostly. So that's about that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So an adapter brings a lot of benefits to Super 35mm users on the F5 and F55.
And aging cameraman.
Yes, we're not getting any younger.
No. So I'm really excited about this. So thank you, Duclos, for making our lives easier. And we'll probably follow up on this with some demonstration.
Yeah. Well,
test footage.
once you actually get to use it on a job or two, we might come back and have another discussion of how you found it.
Yeah, great.
All right. Thank you for watching, and catch you on the next video.
Thanks.